Using Web API conventions. In the past section, we had seen how to use one of the feature called API analyzers to check the controllers and actions to enhance your documentation. In this section, we will look at a similar technology called API conventions. This is a feature available for Web API projects that is going to automate the generation of document using certain producers type attribute. Let's see about this in this section. Let us look at some of the topics we are going to cover in this section. First, we have what are Web API conventions. In this lesson, we'll look at what are these set of technologies available for Web APIs and see what are their real advantages in case of Web API projects. Next, in step 10, we will start applying these Web API conventions to our current CMS.WebAPI project. We will see how we can apply it to the various controllers and actions within this project. This is followed by step 11, wherein we update all those action names available in our CMS project as per these conventions. Don't worry, we will cover about each of these details step by step in this specific lesson. We then move on to step 12, wherein we are going to create custom API conventions. This is required when you want to enhance the default API conventions provided by Microsoft. We then move on to know the differences between attributes and conventions. Once you know the attributes that have been used before as well as the API conventions feature, you might be a bit confused which one to use. In this lesson, we will look at the differences and the recommended approach in your Web API projects. Let's get started with the first topic, namely what are Web API conventions. What are Web API conventions? These are a pretty cool stuff that is available for Web API projects that is going to immensely improve your productivity. The reason being, it is going to automate some of the documentation process on behalf of you. Let's look at the official definition. The Web API conventions refers to the mechanism provided by ASP.NET to extract the common API documentations to actions or controllers. The key words to look at here is the common API documentations. Let's say when you are developing the various controllers that including action methods, you might be looking at them and then realize that most of them are quite similar. When you look at your controllers and the actions implemented within them, you will realize that they are mostly using the action verbs, namely post, put, get and delete. These are the four common types. Even if you are going to have multiple controllers and multiple action methods defined in them, most likely they are going to fall under these four categories. What if you can automate applying these attributes for these action methods in a more generic manner? Instead of writing the attributes for each of these action methods and controllers, will it not be good if there is a method where we can apply it in automated fashion? Those are referred to as these Web API conventions. These conventions are going to automatically apply producers response type attributes to controllers and actions. Once you have enabled this, instead of manually going and adding these attributes to your action methods, API conventions is going to take care of that for you. You need to note that these conventions are defined in Microsoft ASP.NET Core.mvc.default API conventions namespace. So you need to add it to the respective controllers that needs to have or include these API conventions. Finally, the API Explorer that we have seen before, that is the real reason behind creating these OpenAPI documentations, understands these API conventions defined in the assembly. Hence, these API analyzers, when you're looking for the controllers in your assembly, also looks at these conventions, and if they are present, then it's going to use those informations to generate those final OpenAPI documentations. One important point that you need to remember when you are working with the API convention is that each actions may be associated with exactly one convention only. Meaning that, as we are going to see in forthcoming lessons, when you apply these conventions, you need to apply only one convention at a time for an action method. If you are going to include more than one, then it's going to create ambiguity. Of course, such situations may not occur because these conventions are typically designed to apply for a specific HTTP verb, such as post, put, delete and so on. You just need to know that you should not apply more than one at a time. Next, let us look at some of the key benefits of using API conventions. The first one, as I mentioned before, is that these API conventions defines common status codes returned by each of those action methods. Hence, you have one central place of handling these documentation of these action methods. The next main benefit is that these identify actions that deviate from the standards defined by Microsoft. Meaning that when you apply API conventions, then it's going to provide a default set of guidelines or rules. When you apply these for action methods, and if it detects that that particular action method is deviating from the predefined standard, then you are going to get those typical warnings that we have seen in the previous sections. Hence, usage of these API conventions makes your work more methodological manner. I love these API conventions because I generally prefer to have us follow these standards available in programming. So API conventions being one of the standards for applying to the web API projects for documenting them. Finally, let's look at the different ways of applying these web API conventions to your API projects. As you can see here, you have three different approaches. One is to apply at the individual action level. In this case, you are going to apply this convention at each of the individual action methods within each controller. So in this advantage is that you have full control over which action method you are going to apply these conventions. Suppose you want to apply it at the controller level, that is also possible. So that is the second approach. You apply these web API conventions at the controller level. In such cases, the convention gets applied for all the action methods within that particular controller. And finally, you have the assembly level, wherein, as the name tells, once you have enabled the convention at the assembly level, then it's going to apply it for all the action methods present in all the controller classes within that assembly. Having known about these web API conventions, their advantages and the various approaches, let's look at in the next lesson how to apply these at these three different levels, basically at action, controller and assembly level. Let's cover that in the next lesson. Step 10. Applying web API conventions. In this lesson, we will look at how to apply these API conventions, how to enable it at individual action as well as controller as well as at the assembly level. Let's check it out one after the other. First, we will see how to apply these at the individual action method. So for this, I'm going to the courses controller.cs. Let's take one of the method. This courses, get courses. Otherwise, we just go to individual course. Okay. So currently this method doesn't have any produces response type added to it. So one way to do is just like we have seen before, to add those attributes one after the other. But if you use these API conventions, then you no need to do this. Just you need to tag it to a corresponding action method, and then it's going to apply all those produces response types automatically. Let me show you with an example. To apply the API convention at this individual get course method, then you need to include one of the attribute called API convention method. This is the method, that type or the attribute that you need to use to include these conventions. We'll see more details in forthcoming lessons. For now, the API convention method accepts two arguments. First is the type of the class that defines these conventions, and second is the specific action method name within the type that you need to apply here. So what it basically means is that by API convention, Microsoft has got one single class called default API conventions. Within that class, it has defined a set of methods, and it has applied those produces response type attributes for each of those action methods. What we are basically doing here is we are just applying the convention method attribute here and point it to those specific default API conventions class type and the specific action type method. Once we do this, then it's going to apply all those produces response type to this specific action method. Let's do that. So the first one is going to be the convention type. As I mentioned before, it is defined in default API conventions. So this is one of the class. Let me go to the definition. So you can see that this is a default API conventions provided by Microsoft. This is of type class, And within this class, as you can see, it has defined multiple action methods. For instance, we have create, delete, edit, find, and so on. Basically, it is for all those common HTTP verbs, namely post, get, delete, and so on. So for instance, if we take the case of get, let's go down and see the get method. It has got these attributes: produces response type 200, 404, and a default response type. For our get courses, this aptly suits because we want to fetch the list of details for a course for which the course ID has been passed to this method. Hence, what I am going to do is we need to mention you pick this default API conventions class type and look for a method get. Then in that case, it's going to apply all these attributes to that. That's what I'm going to do here. So here we have mentioned which type to refer. So that is going to be default API conventions. And second method is going to be the name of the method within this default API conventions that needs to be applied for the current action method. So in our case, we'll use this name of operator and look for default API conventions dot get. That's all. Once you do this, then it's going to apply those three produces response type attribute that we just saw before, and it's going to apply to this get courses method. It's good, right? Because it's able to reduce the amount of hard-coded response type values that we have done here. As long as your action method follows the predefined standard, then you are good to go. Let's build the project and look at the output in the Swagger UI. Once we come to the Swagger UI, let me refresh it. And what I'm expecting is for the get courses for the individual course ID, it should have those response types defined. Let's go and check it out. So we have 200, 404, and the default. So all these attributes are coming from those API conventions that we have just added to the get courses method. Similarly, you can add these default API conventions along with the appropriate method to some of the action methods that you have in courses controller. So this is the first approach of applying at the individual action method. Let's say instead of doing at each of those individual action methods, we want to apply at the courses controller level. Let's see how to do it. Going back to the source code, let me stop this for now. And then if we go to the courses controller, we need to go to the top and add a similar attribute, API convention type. Notice that here I am using API convention type attribute instead of API convention method attribute. The difference being API convention method is used when you want to apply these conventions at individual action method. Whereas if you want to apply at the controller level, then you need to use API convention type. So here it's going to accept a single parameter that signifies the type of the default API convention type. It doesn't require the action method because we are going to apply at the individual class level. Like before, we are going to use type of default API conventions. That's all. It's very simple, right? Because now in this case, it's going to use this type, specifically default API conventions. And if we go to this definition, it's going to apply these set of attributes defined for this set of methods as per certain naming conventions. It applied certain rules and tries to match which method to apply for those action methods. We'll cover about this in the next lesson. So for now, we can know that once you apply at the conventions at the controller level, it's going to apply for all the action methods. Let me go now and comment out the one that we have applied for individual course, and then let's see whether it's going to have those details intact or not. Once I have removed it, I am going to run the project and check it out in the Swagger UI. Once it is built, I am going to the Swagger UI. Let me refresh it. Okay, so here we have the get courses ID. If you scroll down, you can see all those status codes, namely 200, 404, and the default being added to this get courses. Similarly, if you try to see some of the other methods such as delete, for which you have not added any attributes before, if you scroll down, still you can see that it has applied 200, 400, 404 as well as the default. why this has happened. The reason being, since it's going to apply at all the action methods as per certain name comparisons, it has applied it for this specific delete method. Let me go back to the source code and let us look at the type within this for the delete method. If we scroll down all the way to the end, okay, it doesn't look like at the end. Okay, here we have for the delete. So for delete, it is going to apply all these 4 attributes, namely 200, 204, 400 and the default type. Hence, you can use this at the controller level as well. It's going to immensely help you to increase your productivity. In fact, we have the third approach wherein you can apply this at the entire assembly level. Once you do this, then you don't need to apply at the controller level or the action method. It's going to apply across all the controllers and actions. Let's see how to do it. So I have come to the top of the controller. I'm going to comment it out. I'm going to include it at the assembly level. To include at the assembly level, you go to the startup class. So once I am at the top of the assembly, startup.cs, I'm going to add it as assembly followed by API convention type of default API convention. Once done, it's going to apply this specific type, namely default API conventions type, for all the controllers and the action methods defined in them. Now, if we build the project and go and check the Swagger UI, I'm expecting the same set of properties to be intact for delete, courses and so on. Let's see what happens in this case. Once it is built, I'm going to the Swagger UI. Let me collapse all these windows and refresh it. Let's go and check for the delete method. So we have delete courses ID. You can see here it has retained all those status codes 200, 400, 404 and default. Hence, this shows that you can apply these default API conventions at the assembly level as well. So far, we have used the default API convention type that has been given by Microsoft. What if you want to customize this so that you want to include or remove some of those response types? In such case, you can define your own custom API convention types. Let's see that in the next lesson. Step 11. Update action names as per conventions. I just want to give you some points before we proceed to create our own custom API conventions. In this lesson, I would like to stress one important point that you need to have your names as per the conventions. The reason being, if you look at your controller class, you have got many action methods like add courses, delete courses, get course and so on. How does ASP.NET Core know that which of the method defined within the default API conventions has to be applied for the current action method? There has to be some rules or guidelines that needs to be followed or being implemented so that it can do this mapping. That is using these naming conventions. What it means is that if you go to the default API conventions class, we have got many functions defined. At the top, you can see specific name match behaviors. So what .NET is going to do is it's going to look out for the function names and it has to satisfy as per these conditions. These rules are set for the method names as well as the parameter type and parameter name. Hence, there are 3 parts. One is the action method name has to satisfy certain rules. Similarly, the parameters that you pass to those action methods has to be of certain type. And also the name of those parameters also should match certain conditions. Now, what are those conditions? It's again, there are many ways. For instance, if you look at this create method, it says that it's going to apply these attributes, namely 400, 201 and the default response type for those action methods in the controller whose name matches with create as the prefix. Hence, if you have got a method called create course, then this create method will be applied for that particular method. Hence, that create course will have these return types as default 201 and 400. Similarly, if you look at the parameters, the values are, it should match with a specific name. The behavior can be any. For instance, if you go to the available options, you have got any, exact, prefix and suffix. So these are the 4 ways. When you are going to match with the method name as well as the parameter names, either it can be the prefix, it should appear at the start of the keyword, or it can be a suffix meaning it has come in the later part. For example, id. If id is a parameter name and if the naming convention is set as prefix, then it should be something like id or id course. If it's a suffix, that's the most likely case, then it should be something like course id or unique id. So the id part has to be in at the end. The third option is the exact match. So if suppose the parameter name you have given as id or say identifier, then the parameter name should exactly match with this keyword called identifier. So hence you can use either of these matching behaviors, and then these can be applied for those individual action methods. Let's pick another example. Let me go to the delete method, because we noticed that the delete method was triggered when we applied this convention at the controller level. Let's see how we correctly pick the delete method. Okay, so here we have the delete. So it's going to apply all these 4 different attributes type if the name matches with the behavior as prefix. Hence, if our course controller contained any of the action method that starts with delete, then the first condition matches. So in our case, we coincidentally had implemented using delete or delete courses. Let me go and check it out. So we have update course and delete course. So you can notice that it's a delete course, and then naming convention here we mention the behavior as prefix. Hence, delete course contains the keyword delete as a prefix. Hence, the first rule matches. And the next one is the parameters. Parameters, you can see that the name should match with suffix, and the name being id in this case. And you look at the type. Type is any. It means that if you have a parameter that ends with the keyword id, and it can be of any type, and the method name starts with delete, then it's going to apply this convention to that action method. Sounds confusing, but don't worry. You just see for some of the examples which is present in this default API conventions, then you will understand it. And once you understand it, you will start liking it, because the way it is implemented is a bit generic. That is good for you, because as long as you follow these guidelines, then it's going to get automatically applied. Coming back to the delete method, so we have the delete course. Of course, it's going to match with that because it starts with the delete keyword. And if you look at the parameters, the type we saw it as behavior as any, so int is still okay. And our parameter name is course id, which contains the keyword id as the suffix. In this case, all 3 condition matches. Hence, it's going to apply that specific producers response types sections to this specific delete course action method. In a similar fashion, .NET is going to take each of these methods that is defined in your controller class and going to match with one of these methods available here. If it matches, then it's going to apply those conventions. If it doesn't find a match, then it's not going to apply those matches. Hence, you have to be careful when you are doing the name convention for your methods. To help you understand the usage of these naming conventions, the type and the type conventions, I have created this table so that it is easier for you to refer when you are going to create these action methods. Once you understand this table, then it means that you have mastered the default API conventions. Let's go through each one after the other so that you understand it a lot better. So what I have done in this table is I have captured the list of all methods available within the default API conventions. At the left side, you can see those actions. We have get, find, post, create, put, update, edit, and delete. Hence, you have 2, 4, 7, 8. So you have 8 methods defined within this default API conventions. If you take the first example, we have the get as the action method. Here we have mentioned the method name matching rule being prefix, which means that, for instance, get course. then in that case, this get does get validated because it starts with the keyword get. It can even be find, which means that find courses. That is another example. So that is the first matching rule. The second is the list of attributes applied. That should be okay. And the main one is the parameter name. The parameter name used by this convention is ID, and the behavior is the name match should be suffix. For instance, we have seen that course ID. So suffix means it comes to the right side. So course ID matches this condition. And the last one and the third one is the parameter type. As you can see, almost all the ones refers to any. So the type doesn't matter. So that's good. There is one condition less that you need to worry about. So when you're going to use these API conventions, just concentrate on two things. One is the method name, and second one is the parameter name and how you name it. For instance, suppose I want to handle or implement update courses. Then as per this table, what I'm going to do is update comes to the third category. Here I can name my method as put courses or just say put, and then you have update courses, edit course, and so on. So all these method names matches the prefix condition of the method name. Coming back to the parameters, I'm going to have it as ID as a course ID or course model and so on. In the case of ID, then it's going to contain a suffix like course ID. Suppose you are going to have a user defined type, then the name should be model. In the model, you have the parameter name match as any, which means that there is no condition it should be prefix or suffix. As long as the keyword model is there, then it's going to get matched. For instance, course model, or say student model, or just simply model. So all these satisfies the name match. Since the type is any, it doesn't matter. The ID can be an integer, the model can be a user defined type, and so on. Hence, you just go through this table, and I'm going to include this as part of the cheat sheet. It's available at the top of the course sections. Then this is going to help you immensely when you are working with default API conventions. I hope this table is helpful for you, and with this, let's look at the next lesson wherein we are going to define the custom API conventions. Let's look at that next. Step 12, create custom API conventions. In this lesson, we are going to see how you can define your own custom API convention class. The advantage with this approach is that you no need to follow all the API standards that is being implemented in default API conventions. You may come across this situation when you don't want to return those set of response codes that is defined in that convention. That is first case. The second case is for those action methods that does not satisfy the one defined in this default API convention. So in these two cases, it becomes necessary for you to create your own custom API conventions. But the good news is that creating those custom API conventions is easier. Let me show you how to do it. For instance, let's see here we have the get courses action method. We have manually added these attributes 200 and 500. Let's say I want to use those conventions. By default, the default API conventions may not apply for this specific method. The name being it contains the get courses, so the name is okay, but it doesn't contain any parameters. If you refer to the API conventions, for the get method, it expects a parameter. So we have this get method defined, and it's going to contain an ID. So it expects an ID. Hence, this specific get is applicable only for those cases that contains an individual ID. For instance, get courses int course ID. That's a good match for this. But we don't have anything defined for this get courses collection. So what we are going to do is I'm going to define a custom API convention and then apply that attribute to this. Let's do that. First, I'm going to create a new folder. Let's name it as conventions. Create a new file called CMS API conventions. There are two main points that you need to consider when you are creating the custom API conventions. The rules are it should be a static class so that it can be used without creating any object instance. The next condition is those methods defined within that also should be static. Again, the reason being without creating any instance, you should be able to access those methods. Hence, when you are having this class defined, make it as a static class and then define a method. Let's say I want to introduce one method called getAll that needs to be applied for the get courses. Since I don't have any parameters, it's going to be blank. At the top, you need to include those set of responses that you need to introduce here. Produces response type 200. Looks like we need to bring in a namespace. Produces response type is defined in ASP.NET Core.MVC. So similarly, you can add more types such as 500. Okay, these are the list of response types that will be returned when you use this specific getAll method. It has to be static. Next, there is another important point that you need to add in over here. That is the name matching preferences. If you refer to the default API conventions, we have this API convention name match. Let's copy that and paste it here. Okay, so this means that if is going to find, let me remove get. Okay, this should be okay. Okay, let's make it as getAll. So if it's going to find any method that starts with getAll, that's why we have given it as a prefix, and it's going to apply these attributes. Notice that there are no parameters. That's all. So once this is done, it completes the creation of your custom API conventions. Now it is ready to use. Let me go to the courses controller. We'll start applying this to the get courses method. So here, similarly, we had API convention method. It's going to accept two parameters, the first one being the type, second one being the action method name. Type of CMS API convention. Since we had defined it in a new class in the new namespace, you need to bring in the corresponding namespace for this. Okay, let's go here. So this is the namespace. Then the next parameter is going to accept is the name of the method. Again, for this we need to use API convention dot getAll. Once done, then it's going to apply this specific convention that is defined in this type to this specific method. But notice that we had mentioned one of the naming rule as it should be a prefix for getAll. Hence I'm going to name it as getAll courses. Once I build the project, we have got a couple of errors. Looks like we made some minor mistake. Okay, so this is API conventions. So we have missed AS. Conventions.getAll. For the getAll method, we have forgotten to include public. Okay, now it should be good to go. Let's build the project again and then run it. So once it is successfully executed, we go back to the Swagger UI and then verify the output for the case of get courses collection. What I'm expecting is it should have those return types as 200 and 500. Let's go to the Swagger UI, refresh it. Okay, let's go to the top. This corresponds to the getAll courses that we have mentioned before. Here we have 200 and 500 defined. Before we close this topic on API conventions, I want to give you one quick tip. If you are going to create custom API conventions, instead of creating everything from scratch, you can start reusing the default API convention that is already available. You can just copy the content that is present in default API conventions, including the class as well as the action methods, and then you can just tweak whichever you want to update. For example, if I go back to the source code, we have these default conventions. Let me go to the default conventions. Okay, we have commented out everywhere. If we go to this type, okay, so instead of writing the entire file from scratch, what you can do is you can copy paste the entire CS file or just a snippet of it. For example, you can just copy in this manner this specific method and copy to the new file and call the custom API conventions, and then you can tweak it. For example, you don't want the rule to be as prefix, but instead you prefer to be having as any, then you can add it over here. Also, you can add or remove those response types that you want to add or remove from this specific action method. So in this way, you can save your time and increase your productivity, as well as avoid the mistakes of making those default custom API conventions. Attributes versus conventions. Which one to use? I am pretty sure that this question might be popping up in your mind, whether to use the default API convention or use custom API conventions that you need to define yourself. The answer again is depends on your situation. Based on my experience, what I have noticed is that if your API is simpler, that contains only few resources and few endpoints within those courses or any other resources, then you can apply these default API conventions. Because the default API conventions comes with certain rules, as we have noticed before: the name, the type, the name of the parameter, and so on. Your action method has to compare to that. If it is a smaller API, then it's okay. Even if it is not following, you can go and change it. Whereas if it is going to be a complex or a larger API projects, then the attributes make sense. Because using those attributes, you have full control on what you have done it. Moreover, you may also consider to follow the hybrid approach, meaning that you can get the best of both worlds, attributes as well as the custom API convention types. This may be applicable for intermediate or medium complexity project types. In such cases, you can define your custom types and try to reuse these and then include only the required producers type. In short, if your API is simpler and short, then go ahead with the default API conventions. If it is medium complexity, then you can go with a hybrid approach. Whereas if your project is really big or huge and complex, then consider to use just attributes. We have come to the end of this section using Web API conventions. Let us summarize some of the key concepts you had learned in this section. First, you looked at what are Web API conventions. These API conventions refers to the set of technologies available with .NET Core Web API projects, wherein you can automate the generation of document for producers response types for action methods. In step 10, you looked at how to apply these Web API conventions. You use the attribute API convention method to apply at the individual action methods, whereas you use the attribute API convention type if you want to apply this at the controller level. Also, you learned that in step 11, you can apply the action names in 3 different approaches. One is at the individual method name, second is at the controller level, and finally at the assembly level. Depending upon your use case and situation, you can consider to use one of these approaches. Moreover, in step 12, you learn to create custom API conventions that you can create on your own. You can also create a hybrid approach of trying to reuse some of those types defined in default API conventions and start using in your custom API convention classes. Finally, we looked at the difference between attributes versus conventions usage and which one to use. If your API is simpler, then go with these default API conventions. If your API is complex, then you can consider to use the attributes. In the next section, you'll learn how to handle the versioning for the controllers present in your Web API projects. Let's see you in the next section.